It's Halloween, and you know what that means. Being a cartoon reviewer, I'm legally required to make at least 2 holiday-themed reviews each year. But don't worry, Halloween's my favorite holiday. I always decorate my house like crazy and have all my friends over to play horror games after trick-or-treating is over. When I was thinking of something to review, I thought to myself, how many Halloween cartoons actually exist out there? And then I remembered Over the Garden Wall, and I was like, this'll work.
How the gentle wind beckons through the leaves as autumn colors fall.
Yes, I know Channel Frederator made a video about this show last week, but for the record, I haven't watched that video yet. Over the Garden Wall is the perfect cartoon to watch around Halloween. In November of 2014, it played over 5 days on Cartoon Network. Being a mini-series, it only had 10 episodes, but that was exactly as long as it needed to be. The show follows Wirt and Greg, 2 half-brothers who are lost in the forest. Sorry, the unknown. You already know something about the unknown is a bit off when Wirt and Greg meet a talking bird and hear word of the beast being about.
These woods are no place for children. Don't you know the beast is afoot here?
Wirt is the older brother, and kinda one of those pseudo-depressed teenagers like Petey from Steven Universe. And I should hate him, but he's actually voiced by Frodo Baggins, so that makes it all better. Greg is the annoying little brother. As a character, he's pretty useless, and he was voiced by some kid they just pulled off the street. You're probably wondering why Wirt looks like a gnome and Greg has a teapot on his head, but in order to explain all that, I'd have to spoil literally everything in this show. This review is really hard to write without spoiling the entire show, and I don't feel like I can do it justice. I actually am having a lot of trouble writing this review, so I'm going to focus on answering one question. Why is this the perfect Halloween cartoon? Let's start with the artwork. The backgrounds are beautiful. It all gives me a Gravity Falls vibe, but everything is more detailed and serious. Most everything in this show is designed to be taken seriously, which I personally think is really cool. That can't really be said for any other show on Cartoon Network. The only exception to that is the existence of Greg. He's the comic relief of the show, but I feel that he should have been toned down. The problem with that is that the show would become way too dark for Cartoon Network. Actually, there's another point to be made about that. This show is dark, and I mean dark. There's no way to really describe it. The only show that I can think of that comes close to Over the Garden Wall's tone is probably Courage the Cowardly Dog. And I just figured out what I'm reviewing next Halloween. Everything about the show is made to make you think, something is not right, I'm probably going to die. In every episode, there's a situation that makes you feel uneasy. I wouldn't say it's a horror cartoon, but Wikipedia calls it a dark fantasy, which is actually a really good way to describe it. There are no jump scares or other cliche horror elements, but everything is just creepy, but in a super awesome way. Since everything is so serious, the creepy tone works really well. The way the creepiness is done just makes the show a real work of art.
Children, it saddens me that you don't wish to stay here with us, particularly because I simply have to punish you for your transgressions.
There are 2 plots throughout the show. The A plot between Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice, the talking bird that I mentioned earlier. Wirt and Greg want to get out of the woods, and Beatrice doesn't want to be a bird, so they help each other. And by doing so, they have some crazy adventures. Pretty much a normal cartoon plot. The B plot, on the other hand, follows the woodsman and the beast. The beast tasks the woodman with keeping his daughter's soul alive by fueling a magic lantern with oil from the Edelwood trees. This plot is the good part of the show, and I don't want to talk about it too much until I make another video on this. The woodsman is my favorite character in the show. Even though he's a guy in dark clothes in the woods, he's not an axe murderer. I would actually consider him one of the most normal people in the show. Also, he's voiced by Doc Brown from Back to the Future. I would go on a bit more, but that would mean I'd have to dive into spoiler territory, so here's my deal. I'm gonna make a second video about this in a few weeks, and in that time, anyone who hasn't watched Over the Garden Wall should do so. Then, when the time comes, we'll have a nice in-depth discussion about it all. Okay? Okay. See you all in a few weeks.